How are you guys doing? Today is Wednesday, January 12th, 2022, my sister's 14th birthday. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances that took place yesterday on Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. Taking a quick step back and looking where we are now that the college football season is over, the NFL season is getting into its playoff schedule as the amount of teams that are competing for a title is shrinking from 32 to 14. The very first NFL games will be played on Saturday. Taking a look at what's going on with college basketball, they're entering their conference schedules. In the NBA, we are approaching the midway point as teams are starting to seed themselves out, and not to mention that in hockey, we are entering the second half of its season. I'll start getting on the NHL as soon as we get to the playoffs, and not to mention that we are also in the second half of the soccer season as international soccer is starting to get more interesting as well. Taking a look now at what's going on at the collegiate basketball level before we get to the pros, starting off with the top-ranked team in the nation, the defending March Madness champs from last year. The first-ranked Baylor Bears hosted the 19th-ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders. Texas Tech would give Baylor their first loss of the season. Texas Tech won this game 65-62. They won it by 3 after outscoring Baylor by 8 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the top-ranked Baylor Bears were led in scoring by their two guards, Adam Flagler and James Akinjo. Flagler finished with 17 points in 28 minutes. He shot 6 for 11 from the field and 5 for 8 from 3. Akinjo finished with 17 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 37 minutes. He shot 5 for 14 from the field and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 19th-ranked Red Raiders were led in scoring by their starting guard, Adonis Arms, out of Milwaukee. He finished with 14 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field. With this win, the 19th-ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders are now 12-3. They are now 2-1 in the Big 12. With this loss, the defending champs Baylor Bears are now 15-1. They are now 3-1 in the Big 12. Looking at the 4th-ranked team in the nation, the Auburn Tigers went to Tuscaloosa to face off against the 24th-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Auburn would beat Alabama 81-77. They won this matchup by 4 after they outscored Alabama by 5 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 24th-ranked Crimson Tide were led in scoring by their starting guard, Javon Quinterly. He finished with 14 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 4 for 19 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 4th-ranked Auburn Tigers were led in scoring by their starting forward, Jabari Smith. The starting freshman out of Atlanta finished with 25 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, and 4 blocks in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he shot 6 for 10 from the foul line. With this win, the 4th-ranked Auburn Tigers are now 15-1. They are 4-0 in the SEC. With this loss, the 24th-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide are now 11-5. They are now 2-2 in the SEC. Looking at the 5th-ranked team in the nation, the USC Trojans will go to Stanford to face off against the unranked Cardinal. Stanford would beat USC 75-69 to give USC their first loss of the season. Stanford won this matchup by 6 after they outscored USC by 7 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 5th-ranked Trojans were led in scoring by their starting forward, Isaiah Mobley. Mobley finished with 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 3 for 5 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and 7 for 9 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Stanford Cardinal were led in scoring by their starting forwards. Spencer Jones out of Roland Park, Mississippi, would go on to finish with 21 points and 3 steals. As that was what he was able to do in his couple minutes. He's from Kansas, not Mississippi. Stanford's other guard, Harrison Ingram out of Dallas, would finish with 21 points for himself. He also finished with 10 rebounds in 38 minutes as he shot 6 for 11 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the foul line. With this win, the unranked Stanford Cardinal are 9-4. They are 2-1 in the Pac-12. With this loss, the 5th-ranked USC Trojans are now 13-1. They are 3-1 in the Pac-12. Looking at the 9th-ranked team in the nation, the Kansas Jayhawks hosted the 15th-ranked Iowa State Cyclones. Kansas would end up beating Iowa 62-61 on their home court. Kansas won this matchup by 1 after they outscored Iowa State by 3 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 15th-ranked Cyclones were led by their starting guard, Isaiah Brockington. Brockington finished with 17 points and 8 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 6 for 15 from the field and 5 for 7 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 9th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks were led by their starting guard, Ochai Agbaji. Agbaji finished with 22 points and 7 rebounds in 39 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the 9th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks are now 13-2, as they are now 2-1 in the Big 12. With this loss, the 15th-ranked Iowa State Cyclones are now 13-3. They are now 1-3 in the Big 12. All of their losses are in the conference. Looking at the 18th-ranked team in the nation, the Kentucky Wildcats would go a state south to face off against the unranked Vanderbilt Commodores. Kentucky would beat Vanderbilt 78-66. They won this matchup by 12 after outscoring Vanderbilt by 13 in the first half. On the winning end, the 18th-ranked Wildcats were led in scoring by their starting forward, Oscar Tshiebwe. He finished with 30 points and 13 rebounds in 34 minutes. He shot 11 for 16 from the field and 8 for 10 from the foul line. With this win, the 18th-ranked Kentucky Wildcats are 13-3. They are now 3-1 in the SEC. With this loss, the unranked Vanderbilt Commodores are 9-6. They are 1-2 in the SEC on the season. Looking at the 21st-ranked team in the nation, the Texas Longhorns hosted the unranked Oklahoma Sooners. And in this Red River rivalry on the basketball court, Texas would beat Oklahoma 66-52. Texas won this matchup by 14 after they outscored Oklahoma by 12 in the first half. On the winning end, the 21st-ranked Longhorns were led in scoring by their senior guard, Andrew Jones, out of Irving, Texas. He would go on to finish with 22 points and 4 steals in 32 minutes. He shot 7 for 15 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the foul line. With this win, the 21st-ranked Texas Longhorns are now 13-3 on the year. They are 3-1 in the Big 12. With this loss, the unranked Oklahoma Sooners are now 12-4. They are now 2-2 in the Big 12. Taking a look at the 22nd-ranked college basketball team in the nation, the Tennessee Volunteers hosted the unranked South Carolina Gamecocks. Tennessee would beat South Carolina 66-46. They won this matchup by 20 after they outscored South Carolina by 6 in the first half and by 14 in the second. On the winning end of this matchup, the 22nd-ranked Vols were led in scoring by their starting guard, Santiago Vescovi, out of Uruguay. He went on to finish with 14 points and 5 assists, as well as 2 steals, all in 34 minutes. He shot 5 for 12 from the field. With this win, the 22nd-ranked Tennessee Volunteers are now 11-4. They are now 2-2 in the SEC. With this loss, the unranked South Carolina Gamecocks are 10-5. They are 1-2 in the SEC. Looking at the 25th-ranked team in the nation, the Illinois Fighting Illini went to Nebraska to face off against the unranked Cornhuskers. Illinois would beat Nebraska 81-71. They won this matchup by 10 after they outscored Nebraska by 13 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 25th-ranked Illini were led in scoring by their starting guard, Trent Frazier, out of Florida. Frazier finished with 29 points, 5 assists, and 4 steals in 38 minutes. He shot 9 for 18 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he shot 8 for 10 from the foul line. With this win, the 25th-ranked Illinois Fighting Illini are 12-3. They are now 5-0 in the Big Ten to start off their season so far. And with this loss, Nebraska is now 6-11. They are 0-6 in the Big Ten as of right now. Taking a look at what's going on today as we look through the scheduling, at 6:30, the first ranked matchup will take place as 17th-ranked Xavier hosts 14th-ranked Villanova on FS1. At 7 o'clock, unranked Wake Forest is going to host 8th-ranked Duke, and that's going to be on ACC Network. At the same time, 10th-ranked Michigan State is going to host unranked Minnesota on Big Ten Network. And last but not least, at the same time, at 7 o'clock, 12th-ranked LSU is going to go to Florida and face off against the unranked Gators on ESPN2. That's what college basketball is looking like. Taking a look at what's going on at the professional levels. Of course, like I said, the NFL's wild card matchups do not start until Saturday. So, of course, I'll wait till Saturday to preview those matchups. And then looking forward to, and looking out to what happened in the NBA yesterday. Starting off in our nation's capital in D.C., the Washington Wizards hosted the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Wizards would beat the Thunder 122-118. The Wizards won this matchup by 4 after they outscored the Thunder by 6 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Thunder were led in scoring by their starting point guard out of Kentucky, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander finished with 32 points and 8 assists in 35 minutes as he shot 13 for 22 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Washington Wizards were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Kyle Kuzma. Kuzma finished with 29 points and 5 rebounds in 35 minutes. He would go on to shoot 12 for 17 from the field and 4 for 7 from the foul line. Their starting guard, Spencer Dinwiddie, finished with 22 points, 10 assists and 2 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 7 for 15 from the field and a perfect 7 for 7 from the foul line. With this win, the Washington Wizards are now 21-20. That is the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won their last 2 games and they've won 5 of their last 10. They sit half a game behind the 8th seed Toronto Raptors outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture at the moment. With this loss, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 13-27. That is currently the second worst record in the Western Conference as they've lost their last 5 games. Their 5-game losing streak is the worst losing streak in the Western Conference as they are currently tied with the Sacramento Kings. And it is the second worst. It's tied for the second worst losing streak in all of the NBA right now. The Thunder have lost 8 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 7 games behind the 8th seed Los Angeles Clippers in the West. Taking a look now at what went down north of the border in Toronto, the Raptors hosted the Phoenix Suns, the defending Western Conference champs. The Suns would beat the Raptors 99-95. They won this matchup by 4 after they outscored the Raptors by 6 in the fourth quarter to overcome their 2-point deficit. On the losing end of this matchup, the Toronto Raptors were led in scoring by their starting small forward, OG Anunoby. Anunoby finished with 25 points in 39 minutes. He shot 9 for 20 from the field. He shot 4 for 13 from 3, and he would go on to shoot 3 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting power forward, former most improved player, Pascal Siakam, finished with 22 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals. As he fouled out in 39 minutes, he shot 10 for 23 from the field and 2 for 4 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard out of Wichita State, Fred VanVleet, finished with 21 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 44 minutes. He shot 7 for 18 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and 3 for 5 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Phoenix Suns were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Jay Crowder, out of Marquette. He finished with 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals in 35 minutes. He shot 7 for 14 from the field and 5 for 11 from 3. Their elite starting shooting guard out of Kentucky, Devin Booker, finished with 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists as he fouled out in 36 minutes. He shot 4 for 13 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, and he shot 6 for 8 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard out of Wake Forest, Chris Paul, finished with 15 points, 2 rebounds, 12 assists, and 5 steals in 33 minutes. Paul shot 6 for 11 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Phoenix Suns are now 31-9. That is the best record in the Western Conference. They've won 6 of their last 10 games as they sit 1 game ahead of the second-place Golden State Warriors in the conference. With this loss, the Toronto Raptors are 20-18. That is the 8th best record in the East. They've lost only 3 of their last 10. They sit 7 games behind the first seed Chicago Bulls for the Eastern Conference. Taking a look now at what went down in Memphis, the Memphis Grizzlies hosted the Golden State Warriors, and in a day where the Suns won, the Warriors found themselves on the losing end to the Grizzlies, who have now stretched their winning streak to 10. The Wizards won this matchup 116-108. They won this matchup by 8 after they outscored the Warriors by 11 in the fourth quarter to overcome their 3-point deficit. On the losing end of this matchup, the Golden State Warriors were led in scoring by their their goated starting point guard out of Davidson, Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry finished with 27 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 steals in 39 minutes. He shot 8 for 21 from the field, 2 for 9 from 3, and 9 for 10 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Memphis Grizzlies were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard out of Murray State, Ja Morant. Morant finished with 29 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists, as well as 2 blocks in 37 minutes. He shot 11 for 23 from the field, and he would go on to shoot 1 for 4 from 3 and 6 for 8 from the foul line. With this win, the Memphis Grizzlies are now 29-14. Like I said, they have won their last 10 games. That is the longest winning streak in the NBA right now. And so far this season, I don't think anyone's had the Suns have had a longer winning streak this year. They currently sit 3.5 games behind the first place Phoenix Suns in the conference right now. And with this loss, the Golden State Warriors are 30-10. They've lost 4 of their last 10 games as they now sit 1 game behind the Phoenix Suns. And with this loss, the Phoenix Suns are the remaining team in the NBA with a single-digit amount of losses on the year so far. And they could very well have a single-digit amount of losses through the first half of the season, as they've played 40 games so far. Taking a look now at what's going down in New Orleans, the Pelicans hosted the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Pelicans would beat the Timberwolves 128-125 in front of their home fans. The Pelicans won this matchup by 3 after they outscored the Timberwolves by 7 in the second quarter. That'll be the biggest difference they had. On the losing end of this matchup, the Timberwolves were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward out of Georgia, Anthony Edwards. Edwards would finish with 28 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 10 for 21 from the field, 6 for 12 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Their elite starting center, Karl Anthony Towns, finished with 26 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals in 42 minutes. He shot 9 for 16 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and 7 for 11 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the New Orleans Pelicans were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward, Brandon Ingram. He finished with 33 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, and 5 turnovers in 37 minutes. He shot 11 for 19 from the field, 6 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Josh Hart, out of Villanova, finished with 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field and 4 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the New Orleans Pelicans are 15-26. That is the 3rd worst record in the Western Conference. They've won 5 of their last 10 games. At the moment, they sit 5.5 games behind the 8th seed LA Clippers out west. With this loss, the Minnesota Timberwolves are 20-21. That is the 9th best record in the Western Conference. They've lost 5 of their last 10 games as they now sit half a game behind the 8th seed Los Angeles Clippers in the West. Taking a look now at what's going down in Chicago, the Eastern Conference leading Chicago Bulls hosted the Detroit Pistons, and in a makeup game, the Bulls would end up beating the Pistons 133-108 to 87. The Bulls would go on to win this matchup by 46 points. They went on to outscore the Pistons by 9 in the first half. They outscored the Pistons by 22 points in the third quarter and by 15 in the fourth, by a combined 37 points in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Detroit Pistons were led in scoring by their shooting guard off the bench, Josh Jackson, who's originally from Detroit, out of Kansas. He went on to finish with 16 points and 2 steals in 29 minutes as he shot 6 for 13 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Chicago Bulls were led in scoring by their starting center and former NBA All-Star Nikola Vucevic. Vucevic finished with 22 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 steals in 27 minutes. He shot 10 for 18 from the field and 2 for 4 from 3. Their starting small forward out of USC, DeMar DeRozan, finished with 20 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists in 27 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field and 4 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the Chicago Bulls are now 27-11. That is the best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won 9 of their last 10 games, and they sit 2.5 games ahead of the second-place Brooklyn Nets in the conference. With this loss, the Detroit Pistons are now 9-31. That is the second worst record in the Eastern Conference and the second worst record in the NBA. They've lost 6 of their last 10 games, and they sit 12 games behind the 8th seed Toronto Raptors for the time being. Last but not least, jumping out to the Crypto.com arena, the LA Clippers hosted the Denver Nuggets. The Los Angeles Clippers would beat the Nuggets 87-85. They won this matchup by 2 after they outscored the Nuggets by 13 points in the fourth quarter to overcome their 11-point deficit coming in. On the losing end of this matchup, the Denver Nuggets were led in scoring by their starting power forward out of Arizona, Aaron Gordon. The former dunk contest champion finished with 30 points and 12 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 11 for 16 from the field and a perfect 7 for 7 from the foul line. The Nuggets' elite starting center, last year's MVP Nikola Jokic, finished with 21 points, 13 rebounds, and 8 assists, as well as 5 turnovers in 37 minutes. He shot 9 for 14 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Los Angeles Clippers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Amir Coffey. Coffey finished with 18 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4 steals in 43 minutes. He shot 6 for 11 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the LA Clippers are now 21-21. That is the 8th best record in the Western Conference. They've won their last 2 games, and they've won 4 of their last 10. They trailed the first-place Phoenix Suns by 11 games in the conference. With this loss, the Denver Nuggets are now 20-19. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference. They've lost 5 of their last 10 games. They trailed the first-place Phoenix Suns by 10.5 games in the conference. They sit half a game ahead of the LA Clippers right now in the hunt. That is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's performances and looking to what's going on today. Starting with the primetime matchups at 7:30, the New York Knicks, who currently hold the 5th worst record in the Eastern Conference, or tied with the Celtics for the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference, are going to host the Dallas Mavericks, who currently hold the 5th best record in the West. That'll be a pretty solid matchup. Julius Randle versus Luka Doncic, or RJ Barrett, depending on where RJ Barrett is on his progression to being the number 1 guy for the Knicks. And then following that matchup at 10 o'clock, the Eastern Conference leading Chicago Bulls are going to host the Brooklyn Nets, who hold the 2nd best record in the conference. And these 2 teams are 2.5 games apart. So a win from the Nets can bring them to at least within 1.5 games of one another. Looking at the games that aren't on prime time, at 7 o'clock, the Indiana Pacers are going to host the Boston Celtics in the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. At the same time, the Philadelphia 76ers are going to host the Charlotte Hornets in the Wells Fargo Center in what could possibly be a playoff matchup. At 7 o'clock, the Washington Wizards are going to host the Orlando Magic in the Capital One Arena. At 7:30, the Atlanta Hawks are going to host the Miami Heat in the State Farm Arena as the Hawks look to turn their season around. At 8:30, the San Antonio Spurs are going to host the Houston Rockets in the AT&T Center. At 9 o'clock, the Utah Jazz are going to host the Cleveland Cavaliers, as this is one of the better matchups that's going on. And then at 10 o'clock, the Sacramento Kings are going to host the LA Lakers at the Golden One Center. That will be at 10 o'clock. And those are all the matchups that I have for you that are going to be going down in the NBA today. And of course, once all of today's matchups are done, I'll come back tomorrow. And then taking a look at what's going on in the soccer matchups around the world. Looking first at the Africa Cup of Nations. Nigeria was able to beat Egypt 1-0 in its group stage matchup, as Iheanacho would score the lone goal to put Nigeria up. And of course, Egypt will have to win the rest of their games if they hope to place through. Algeria and Sierra Leone drew at 0, and Sudan and Guinea-Bissau drew at 0 as well. And then taking a look at what's going on today in the world of soccer, starting off with the Africa Cup of Nations. Mali's going to face off against Tunisia. Mauritania and Gambia are going to face off at 11, and Equatorial Guinea and Ivory Coast at 2 o'clock. Taking a look now at what's going on in the Italian Supercoppa. This will be a match between Inter Milan and Juventus. So that will take place that's going to take place at 3 o'clock. In the Coppa Italia, which is the Italian domestic cup in itself, not the Super Cup, Atalanta is going to face Venezia, and this is the round of 16. So of course, a win here will push them through to the quarterfinals. Taking a look now, what's going on in the English Carabao Cup. Chelsea is going to face off against Tottenham Hotspur. Chelsea is currently holding a 2-0 lead on aggregates, as a win here would put them through to the Carabao Cup final. And then in looking at the Spanish Supercopa, Barcelona is going to face off against Real Madrid in this first leg of the semifinals. This matchup is going to be at 2 o'clock, as many people love a good El Clasico. But with that said, that's all the matchups that I have for you today for Wednesday, January 12th. I want to thank ESPN, the NCAA, NFL, NBA, and FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures that I needed in order to do this episode, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do this. I also want to apologize for all the names that I butchered. I do eventually plan on getting them right. And with that said, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 25 minutes of this piece. I do hope all is well, and once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm ready to come back tomorrow on Thursday, January 13th for another episode of The Elite. So until then, I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with another episode tomorrow. Thanks for listening to my piece, and peace out.